Okay, so if it was an elevator pitch for Residence Animality, this is what it'd be. It'd be moments of coincidence and non-barbaric animal nature, one consciousness manifesting reality, shifting us towards our higher power. So we all resonate like this, like we're all resonating, and our life is a circle. We're born until we die, and no one knows what happens after that. So what I say is, with that circle, that's the pure line, like the pure feeling of just morally and ethically being a good, decent human being, and everyone's trying to be as close as they can to that line. So we're resonating around it, and sometimes you resonate very close to it, and then sometimes because of the world you resonate farther away, but it takes you more time to go out there and learn that lesson and come back, and then you can go right back into like staying here. Yeah.
Damn.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
And we're back at it again with episode 16 of Bindlism, a philosophy to a self-sufficient lifestyle. We're here today chilling with the homie Max. He's a photographer and filmmaker of Syracuse, New York. His drive in life is to spread his message of resonance animality so that the collective conscious can live in harmony with our environment, animals, and other beings. Throughout this conversational journey, we will uncover the truth of who Max is and why he does what he does. We're very excited to delve into this story, so everyone give a round of applause for Maximilian Kenin Schaffner. And we're live! We're here, chilling at Max's house in Cazenovia, New York.
Yep, Cazenovia.
I was driving up here, and it's literally so beautiful. I was driving next to the lake, and it was all frozen over, and just looking out, so expansive.
Right.
Literally beautiful.
So cool, dude.
First off, I'd like to say thank you for allowing us to come to your humble abode and do this podcast.
Yeah.
Max, you just got a new house. House is beautiful.
Thank you.
So
it's my girl. I owe it to my girlfriend, Erica.
Erica, out in the background. So without further ado, Maximilian Kenin, folks. So if you'd like to start off, you want to introduce yourself to the Bindlism community?
What's up, guys? My name's Max. I'm a photographer. I'm also a videographer. I make like music videos. I do portraits. I do custom framework also. Right now I'm currently working with my grandfather. He does photography also.
So what's that work like right now for you?
Winter's a little bit slower for us, but I really like working there. It's very like relaxed, and it's more of like what my skill sets are. Like before I was manager of a skateboard shop, and that was cool, but I wasn't using my degree or anything I learned in college towards my actual profession. And now I get to do that. I just chill and like Photoshop stuff.
It's more like direct hands-on with the hobbies that you enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. I went to school to be a photographer and got a photo degree.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to OCC.
Okay.
Just for 2 years. Got a photo degree, a human communications degree, and minored in philosophy.
Oh, nice.
Shit was fun.
I'm a philosophy nerd, so I definitely appreciate the philosophy.
Oh, yeah.
So you graduated from OCC. It's a 2-year community college. And then from there you started working at BC.
Yeah, so I started working at BC Surf and Sport. I was just a sales associate for like a year. That was cool. I like talking to people, so like when I was working, I just got to talk to customers about like this shoe and why this Nike SB is better than like some other shoe, or like why this Adidas is cool.
You get to talk about what you're passionate about.
Yeah. And then I'd always catch like the random customer who'd want to like talk about like philosophy or something, or like something deeper than just skateboarding, and I'd always like focus on that and talk like as long as I could.
So you would consider yourself a pretty deep thinking individual?
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes.
So you grew up, did you always know you were interested in the hobbies that you do now?
Yeah, I have this camera right here that my mom just gave me back for Christmas. It's a Hitachi. I don't even know if that's the brand. My mom just gave it back to me for Christmas. This was the first camera I ever used. My little brother and I would film like Jackass videos.
How old were you?
I was probably like 7. And even then, I don't think Jackass was out. We were just making like we like jump off the couch and stuff, you know, and like film it.
So you were making Jackass before Jackass was even
I
a
don't
thing?
I don't want to coin it as that, but like later after Jackass came out, I was like, oh, like this is what we've been doing. They definitely brought it to life, but yeah, and it was fun. So like I always filmed stuff with this camera, and I started skateboarding when I was really young, and they just kind of just went hand in hand. So I would film skateboarding, and yeah, so I didn't really know it would be this developed into my life at this point. I just kind of had them as hobbies, and it ended up becoming like my career now is I'm a photographer, and like I worked at a skate shop, which was very cool, and like I skate in my basement with my friends all the time.
This basement?
Yeah.
What?
I started building
you gotta
like
show me that.
Yeah, I will. We started building like this little quarter pipe too.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Nice. So skating, photography, it's always been a central theme throughout your life. So the first day your mom gave you the Hitachi, is that when you kind of started to delve down this path?
So it was actually our family video camera, like it was hers, and
Okay.
she didn't give it. She just gave it to me for Christmas, but she didn't give it to me when I was a kid. I just kind of had this like
Itching?
resonance to like take the family camera and film like little videos where I'd be like, hey, what's up? It's Max. I'm about to do this thing, and I'd like run around doing something, and then like leave it on there so that when the family watched it, it would be like playing over our family videos. Like we'd be watching a family video, and all of a sudden it would just pop up with me, like, camera in my face, like, hey, what's up? It's Max. Just running around the house. I don't know.
So there was like something in you early on that was kind of like gravitating you towards wanting to.
Yeah, definitely. I like the fact that I can like record something and then see it again. That always like was so fascinating to me. Being able to like, I was like obsessed with figuring out how it worked. Like, how can I record something and then see myself on there again? And when I was a little kid, I was like, I just loved it and didn't really appreciate it. And then like I slowly started like thinking about it harder and how it worked and understanding the camera obscura and like figuring out how light, it's all based off of light. And yeah, then I was really like invested in thinking it, because it's not like a typical job. So it's like something that I took so far and got so interested in that it was like, wow, I can make a career out of this.
You kind of have to make it your own.
Yeah, definitely like your own little like view on everything, like your own touch on life, and like getting your own like perspective of it, which is dope. Yeah, I like that. So like, I remember when I was in school, they did that. They took a tent and they showed you the camera obscura. Obscura effect is when they poke a hole on the other side of the tent, and if everyone sits down, the hole in the tent, the light from outside will be flipped upside down and backwards on the wall. And that's how they started making the first cameras, and they just had to find something that could record that film. So it would like, all it is the little pinhole is like the aperture on the front of the camera in there, and it lets the light through here, but what it does is it crosses and flips it. So they showed us this in school, and they poked a hole in the tent, and it flipped it on the wall. And I remember I was just like so...
Like, damn.
Yeah, I was like mind blown. I was like, that's so cool, and like... I've always been in like optical illusions and like magic stuff like that. So it all kind of like, I don't know. I still don't really understand
cool how it all
works.
kind of interconnects. Like philosophy, you said you're interested, and also like the human psychology plays a big factor into just photography. Being able to see is just an amazing. It's a miracle, honestly, that we're able to have all these colors and just like these visuals like just there, and
then our brain can like read it and interpret it. Yeah, dude, that's so weird.
Cool. So you worked at BC, and then after that you went straight into working for
my grandfather.
So
I was working at BC, and I really liked it, but it just wasn't, the store wasn't going so well. Like, it just didn't feel like it was something I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So I went to my grandfather's studio. He owns a studio here in Casnovia. It's Gene Gisson Photography. I went there and I sat down with him and was like, hey man, like, do you need any help or anything? Because like I'm thinking that I'm trying to like take this as my real career, and I don't know how much longer I want to stay at my current job. And he was like, absolutely, like I need help. Like, it was like kind of serendipitous, and I was like, awesome, like I can start Monday. And he was like, all right, like we'll figure out all the book stuff, great word for it, logistics. And he's like, but I need you here. And I showed up and I realized how much he really did need it. He's turning 75 in April.
Oh wow.
And he doesn't want to retire ever. He wants to be able to just like come to the studio. I'll be like working, and he can just like oversee projects.
So he's getting to that age right now where less like on the creative side, more of just like wanting to keep the business practical.
Yeah.
Practically running.
Yeah. Like
And then-
he'll be like the proprietor of it.
And then where does your role fit into this?
I basically do everything.
Okay.
Grandpa, if you hear this, you know I do.
Hard worker, hire him.
Yeah. His computer, he grew up on film, so he would have to shoot something the exact way he wanted it every time, and he'd have to like set the camera up right. Now it's a little bit easier to just take the picture and then work on it after, or he does a lot of stuff. He was a Navy Seabee. That's when he got his first camera.
What's that?
So Navy Seabee is like they go and they build the bases where people are going to go to. So they don't do any of the fighting or anything. They go and they build like little bunkers, and they're like protected by people while they're building it. And then they
Sounds
move
very
to
dangerous.
the next place. Yeah. Yeah. And so that's when he was a photographer while he was doing that. And then when he got out, now he does all these veteran affairs. So he's a part of the Legion here. He does this thing called Honor Flight Syracuse. They go and get world veterans, and they bring them to Washington, D.C. So, like, I know it's really cool. I didn't realize he did all that. So there's always these composites where I have to take all these deceased veterans and put them on, like, a sheet because they're going to get honored for their families. And all their families come, and they receive an award for them. And I make this huge poster of it all so you can see all the people. And
So that's the current project you're working on?
that never stops, really. So it's always what we do after like more paid jobs. So yeah, it's just my role really is like I'm learning from him a lot more studio work, framework, and then I'm helping him learn more about the computer side of it, because with the whole film and knowing exactly what's going on, computers are updating all the time, it seems like, and all the applications are updating, so things are changing, and he doesn't have much patience when that happens, so he gets very frustrated. And I'll sit down and be like, it's okay, like, come here, like, I'll show you. And I was like, here's the new step that they updated it with. And he's just like you can hear like a real sigh of relief. He's like, oh, like, thank God, I've been doing this for 3 hours. And I'm like, why didn't you call me? So yeah, I like that.
We're going through a huge technological change in just the film industry.
Absolutely.
Like we have Adobe Premiere now, Final Cut, and the whole photography in filmmaking space, like you said, like it's kind of like maybe potentially fizzling out the older generation, and we're like the newer generation coming into it, and it's really fascinating to see that shift.
You're right. Yeah. I see it like firsthand. I still like to shoot film also, but it's definitely like a nostalgia thing. Like it's not as popular. Like everyone's got a cell phone in their pocket with a camera on it, and they can take a picture at any minute. So it's like it's a competing thing, because like
You're like you want to stay with the old.
Right, but everyone can just thinks they can just do the photography side of it, and like everyone's like, oh, I could just take the picture. Like, why would you hire someone? So there's like a conflicting issue with it all. So it's interesting, and I like it because it always keeps me like working harder and like trying to think of a bigger project and make my work even a little bit better, because
It's interesting.
the shift is there's a huge shift, and like.
And the thing that got you first interested into it was the whole backstory of photography, like with light and how you kind of
There's even more to it. Before I even started learning about the physics behind a camera and how it all works, I was running around at my friend Jamie Brownback's house, and there was a scout agent there, and she like saw me, and she had like his dad like come get me, and she like brought me up, and she was like, what's your name, like, are you from here? And I got to act in music videos. So there's not much acting to it. You kind of just like I did stock footage and music videos, and there was like a whole feature music video based just on me hanging out here in Kaz. And the director of that is from Kaz also, and he liked my work so much, like what I looked like, and I had crazy curly hair like I do right now, and he just thought it was awesome because like it was when I was a kid, it was all on my face, and he just loved that look, and it reminded him of his friend who, when he went to Kaz, unfortunately had been murdered by this guy here. So after working with him and making all these music videos, he decided to make a full feature film based on me playing the role of that kid.
Oh, wow.
And in the middle of production, it ended up getting too personal with the family, that he decided to change it a little bit so it wasn't so personal and people couldn't actually tell it was about that kid. So I got to really like experience being the actor, being behind the camera, and working with someone who knew 100% what they were doing more than I did. And yeah, I mean, at 15, I probably thought I knew everything, but like with cameras, but there's no way I did.
And you being the star leading role.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I got like a big ego about it. And I remember I went to Arizona and filmed for a week. They flew me there. And the day we got back, we had a week of filming left to do in Kaz. And I just was like, I didn't understand my role. I wasn't really invested in it. And I was a little kid. And I was like, man, like, can I just go home? Like, I'm so frustrated. Like, I don't get your vision. And he was like, get out of here, like, leave. And he had to change his whole film. And I feel bad for that because I didn't see what he was making when I was at that age. And the movie ended up doing really well. And even with that change, it made the movie even different. Like, it more.
So the final version didn't have you in it?
No, he had to switch it up. So this is what the movie's called Pavilion. It's about teenage idols becoming adult complexities. So it had a lot of me like sitting around and staring out the window and like not a lot of talking. It's up to development and understanding of your own self and what you see in the film. And I didn't get that then. So when I was like, can I just leave? It impacted the movie and it made it shift. So the movie went from, it was focused on a group of kids that were my friends. And then slowly I get interworked into that group. And then I leave to move to Arizona, and it's about how those kids just continue living like I wasn't even there. And then I move to Arizona, and it's focused on me, and I make friends with this new group of kids, and then I move again I was staying in a hotel, and I move again, and it shows these kids just keep moving on like I wasn't even there. So it's saying that how we just kids drift through life until all of a sudden they become these adult complexities that have thoughts and feelings, understandings that they can actually process. And
so becoming an individual.
Yeah. And me leaving that day like made the movie a little bit stronger because it was something he didn't expect and it wasn't so controlled and he had to like work with it.
So it ended all working out
right.
to the benefit.
Yeah, so he ended up like going to a bunch of film festivals, going to I think he went to Sundance. And then now he's made like 4 or 5 movies since then. They're all doing really well. But after that, I told myself like I would never want to be an actor again, really. I don't know if I really mean it anymore, but I didn't want to be that person. I wanted to be like the director Tim Sutton, and I wanted to direct my own film that I could write the script, dialogue, everything, and make the scenes and choose my own feel for a whole video instead of being the character in someone else's movie.
It seems like the way your mind works is very like expansive in itself. Like you see the bigger picture of things.
Yeah, I like to think that I do.
And you're creative in that way. And like as an actor, you're kind of limited in that ability to create because it's limited to just what you can do.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I see that. So now I've started writing my own movie. It's really cool. Most of the movies that I come up with, I dream. Like, I'll wake up and, like, I'm like, I have to write that down, and I'll, like, write it down, and I'm like, that could be a movie.
Let's hear some of these ideas.
I don't want anyone else to make my movie, but
True.
I could tell you one of them. So I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna have enough money to produce this movie because it's very high end. But so this is how it starts. I'm dreaming, and all of a sudden I like wake up. But first, before I start saying that, I like to lucid dream, so I know that I'm dreaming, and I can kind of control it little by little without actually ultimately controlling it. So for this one, I'm like waking up, and I know that I'm not actually waking up in my bed because I know what my bed is like. I know what my bed looks like. So
you're still in the dream.
Right. So I know what my room looks like. So I'm sitting up, and I'm like, what's going on? And I'm like slowly going to move the covers off of me, and it's like a minimalistic room. There's like nothing in it, and everything is just like bleached white. And I'm like, this is weird. Am I in like
a hospital bed?
Yeah. Am I in like a crazy asylum? I'm like, what the heck? So I like go to get up, and I realize I'm not like chained down or anything, you know. And right as I'm doing that, this door opens, and this girl I never seen comes in, and she's got like short blonde hair, like cut up to here, and she's carrying a tray, and she's like, oh, don't get up. And I'm like, what? And she like brings me food, like breakfast in bed. She's like, breakfast in bed, and like hands it to me, and I'm like, all right. And at this point I know I'm actually dreaming, so I'm like, okay, let's see what's going on with this. And I start eating the food, and then I get up and like I open my closet, and all of my clothes are exactly the same. It's like a closet full of the exact same clothes, and I'm like, what the heck? And
it's like prison clothes.
Yeah, like I'm confined, and that's like a trend throughout the whole thing. And I go downstairs, and there's like 2 kids, and their faces are like blurred, like I can't really see what they look like because I know I don't have kids. And my wife in the dream is like, all right, like let's get ready for school. Like you have a test today and you have a game later. And the kids are like, okay, and they run away. And she's like, oh, what are you still doing here? You're gonna be late for work. And I'm like, right, I gotta work. And I go to the garage and I get in my car, and it's like a very like basic like plain car. There's no logo on it. And like while I'm walking through the house, everything's like plain. And like I'm like, this is kind of strange. And as I'm backing out of my driveway, I look over, and every other house looks exactly the same as mine. And there's cars backing out of their driveway at the same time. But like I can see my neighbor, and he like looks different than me, and I'm like, the heck? And we all back out at like the exact same time, and then we're driving away at the same time.
View.
Someone actually said that to me when I told them about this. I've never seen it before.
I think it's called Pleasant View. Pleasant, whatever.
So I'm like driving to work, and I get there, and I walk in, and we're all like, all my coworkers are all walking at the same time. We're all wearing suits, and it's like we all look like exactly the same like suits. And I like sit down, and I can just hear us all typing, and I'm like typing, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, am I just a part of this cognitive machine? Like, am I just going with it? And I'm like typing, and I like stand up, and I look, and everyone's typing, like everyone's doing the exact same thing. And I'm like, what the heck? And the guy next to me, he's like, sit down, like you're gonna get in trouble, like keep typing. And I like sit down and keep typing. And then at the end of the day, like I keep listening to see what other people are doing. Then I'm like following them to follow like the flow. I don't want to like change it. And I go all the way home, and I get home, and it's dark, and my kids are asleep, and my like wife in the dream is in bed. And I get in, and she's like, oh, your son missed one question on his test, and your daughter scored a goal. And I'm like, okay. And I go to sleep. But then I wake up the next day, and I'm like, is this the same day? And as I'm going to get up, my wife comes in, and she's got a tray, and she's like, breakfast in bed, don't get up. And she like brings it to me, but this time I like sit up and put my legs on the ground and like eat it in a different position. And so then she goes downstairs, and I like get up and I open the closet, and all the clothes are exactly the same. So this time I wear it without a suit without the tie.
This was happening in one chain of
in one dream. Yeah.
Holy shit.
And I know, right? So I'm like, I don't wear the tie, and I go downstairs, and this time I can like see the like kind of make out details on my kid's face of what they look like. And right before I see like my wife start to say like, hey kids, like you, and I was like, you have to my daughter's like, or to my son, I go, you have a test today, you're gonna miss one question. I was like, try really hard and don't miss that question. And I look at her, and I was like, you're gonna score a goal today. And she's like, I am. And I was like, yeah. And they're like, get going, guys. And they like get up and leave. And she's like, I was like, I know I'm late for work. And she's like gives me this weird look. And I'm like, all right. And then I go and get in my car. And this time I sit there and like wait. And I like count to like 5. And then I back out of my garage, and I see all the other cars already driving away. And I'm like, all right, like it's a little bit different. Like I'm breaking the cycle. And then I get to work, and everyone's already typing because I'm late. And like this guy comes up, and he's like, what are you doing? He's like, you're 10 minutes late. Like get to work. And I'm like, all right. And I sit down, I start typing, and I stand up, and I go, you know what? No. And the guy's like, what do you mean? And I walk and just leave, and like he's yelling at me as I'm leaving, and like I see people like, what? Like you're leaving? This guy left. Oh my god. And I like leave, and I get in my car, and I'm like, and I'm like driving around, and everything looks the same. And this is when I start being like, what is going on? And I'm like trying to find something that looks different. And I get towards like the edge of like the town, and like all of a sudden it's blurry, and I can't see past, and there's this one right near the edge, there's this one like box building, and it's like dark. And I'm like, okay, there must be something going on there. So I go over to it, and I open the door, and it's like a restaurant bar. And I'm like, what? And none of these people were wearing suits, and they all look different from every other person I've seen. And I'm like, what's going on? So I go over and sit down at the bar, and because I'm like, I'm gonna have a conversation with somebody. I look at the guy next to me, and I'm like, why is everyone the same here besides you guys? And the guy was like, looks at me, he's drinking, he's like, don't ask questions. He's like, they're gonna show up to get you. I'm like, what do you mean they're gonna show up to get me? And he's like, oh, too late. And I like turn back around. There's all these people in black suits like running in, and they're like, yep, there he is, get him. And they come over and they grab me, and they take me away. And the next thing I know, I'm waking up again the next morning, and it's like the same thing as there was the 2 days before in the dream. And this time I just get up, and I go to the door, and before my wife can open the door to bring me the food, I'm just walking past her, and I go downstairs, and I'm like, kids, you don't have to go to school if you don't want to. And they're like, what? She's like, you can't do that. Like, you can't have them do that. And I'm like, hey, if they don't want to, it doesn't matter to me. And because I know I'm dreaming, and I go and I hop in the car, and I drive right back to that box, and I like open the door of the boxed room, and I'm like, I go up to the guy, and I'm like, why'd you say that to me yesterday? And he like looks at the other guy and he's like, oh no, this dude's catching on. And I'm like, no, why'd you say that to me yesterday? Like, why did those people come and grab me? And like, he's like, so did someone call him yet? And I look and like the black suit people are running in to get me. And I run over to the window and jump out. And all of a sudden I'm flying. And I'm just flying around and I'm like above the whole town and it all looks the same. Like all the buildings like cookie cutter look the same. And like everything looks the same. And I realize that it's in a bubble.
Oh,
There's
wow.
like a dome force field bubble. And I start flying near the edge of it. And I can like see outside of it and it's like post-apocalyptic and everything out there is like destroyed.
So you're in like a safe zone.
Yeah.
Utopia.
Yep. And I can like see there's like someone's like drawing. I can like see them like writing in the sand with like a stick. They're like drawing like a pattern, and I can't see it, and I keep flying back and forth trying to figure out what it is. And I remember I fly back and land in the window of that place, and the black suit guys with the earpieces grab me and they like take me home. And
So you're trying to like figure out how to escape.
right, trying to like I'm trying to figure out what's going on and like escape from it. And then I wake up the next day, go right back to the room, run into that place, and I point at the guy and I'm like, don't even say it. And I like run past him and I jump out the window and I'm flying again. And this time I can like see the design that the person made, and all it is it's like a ship above where we're living, and it's projecting particles straight down to keep us there, and we can't get outside of it. And I understand what it is, and like I see it, and I'm like, I had this like aha moment of like, oh, like, and I can see other ones like scattered farther away from us that had this like projecting down on it so that people can't leave. And I start to understand it. I'm like, oh, okay, it's like there's like society, this is what it's become to, and it's like post-apocalyptic, and this is the only way people are still surviving. And I go and like land back at the bar and restaurant and like walk in and sit down next to that guy, and I'm like, I figured it out. And he's like, good for you. And I remember
What did you figure out?
I don't know, it was like that I woke up thinking that like I was in this life of here's my family and my kids and I go to work. But then I figured out that if I start asking questions and looking deeper, I figured out that it's a domed, sheltered environment where people are living, and there's other ones all around, and like everything outside of us is like post-apocalyptic dead. And I had figured that out, and instead of just living like waking up and going with the motion that I had just woken up into in this dream. And so I see this, I'm sitting there and I told him that, and I see this door that I didn't see when I first came in or any time I'd been there, and I go over to it and open it, and it's another like restaurant bar. And I open that, and it's another one. And I open another door, and it's another one. And I'm like, what the heck? So then the suits people with the earpieces come in, and they're like, you ready to go? I'm like, I guess so. And I go, and this time I wake up in my bed the next day, and everything is like a gray. Like, you know how everything was like bleach white before? Like hospital room? It was like a gray. And I was like, what? And this time, before I can get up, the door opens, and I have a different wife with black short hair, and she walks in and she's like, hey sweetheart. And I'm like, what? And
So the things that you were doing before were impacting
my like reality, and they changed a little bit. And I go downstairs, and this time I have the daughter and the son are reversed. So like the daughter was older and the son was younger. Now I have like a younger daughter and an older son.
Okay.
And she says they're going to do something different at school. Like she has karate, and she has I think he said a test still. And I'm like, that's weird. So this time I just get in my car and drive right to that box. And the guy's like, oh, you leveled up, didn't you? And then I just woke up. And I don't know, I didn't know how to fathom at the time.
Did you learn anything from that? From the dream?
My instinct when I first woke up was like, that'd be a really cool movie. That's all I really thought of. But no, I didn't really learn much from that one. It was just like interesting.
Yeah,
like a
definitely.
film.
That would be a good film.
If I ever have the money for that.
I mean,
Super
if you can
high
dream it, you can
achieve it.
It reminds me of the one movie about, I think it's called Truman.
Yeah.
With Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey, yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, something like that, where he like starts figuring out he's a part of the system.
Yeah.
And he
It kinda
starts
felt like
being like more of an individual.
Yeah. And then at the end, he runs that boat into the wall, and he's like, I
Yeah,
knew
yeah.
it. I knew
And
it.
then he walks out.
Yeah. And like everyone was watching him, and he was like a TV star, and they were all like faking it, and he didn't know. Yeah, dude, it was really a lot similar to that. That's kind of like the feeling I got.
The interesting thing about it is like you're in the safe bubble doing the things that you're kind of being forced to do.
Right.
But is it much better than the apocalypse that's happening outside of the bubble?
No. I don't know. Yeah, right? It raises a lot of questions.
Damn.
Yeah. That's,
A lot of questions.
right?
Just from that one dream.
Yeah, I wanted to have another dream of it, like a sequel part 2, like the next night.
Mm-hmm. And you have these reoccurring?
So I haven't had that one again, but like I'll have like 2-day dreams where I dreamed something one night and then the next night I dream it like again. Like it's a little extra added onto the end of that story, and sometimes it like keeps going. So like I won't think about it for a month, and then I'll have like
The same one, but
it's at the end of where I left off.
Oh, okay.
From the other one.
Damn.
Or yeah, and then sometimes I'll just have the whole dream over again, and I would be like haven't had it in like 2 years, and I'm like, wow, I remember that.
When did you start having lucid dreams?
When I was a little kid. We went to water safari, and I was like, Mom, where's the snake? She's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, didn't we see a snake earlier? And she's like, no, like we didn't see a snake. And I was like, I swear to God, there was a huge snake, and I put it on my shoulders. And she was like, no, we didn't do it. And I'm like, huh. And I'm thinking, I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm pretty sure I dreamed that last night. You know? We turn the corner, and there's a huge like boa constrictor, I think. And this guy's like showing it, and he's like, yeah, you guys want to pet the snake? And I was like, yeah, like ran up, was petting it, and he was like, put it on my shoulders. And I was like, that's when I really realized, I thought it was normal, but I would like dream something and then it would like happen. Or like I would dream the situation, and then when I was there, it would be like a little bit different than what I dreamed.
So
like
you
deja
could almost
vu.
like deja vu.
Yeah. Weird.
Would you be able to say it's like enough to be able to like see into the future, or is it more coincidence? How would you?
It would be coincidence.
What's that mean to you?
So instead of coincidence was changed from the word coincidence because they don't want people to coincide. So it's two things coinciding together. Instead, they coined it as coincidence. So it just is like no answer. So people are like, oh, it's a coincidence because it's just something that randomly happened. That's what it is. But that word was just recently changed, like I think it was 35 years ago, from coincidence, like coinciding together. It's two things like existing together. So it turned it to people could just be like, oh, it's just a coincidence. But the real root of the word was a coincidence of something. So
like that affected the other?
Right, yeah.
Or like
so
there's
like
a purpose to it.
There's like a purpose to it. So like I would have the dream, and then I could literally, like someone would be saying something and I'd be saying it at the same time in my head, what they were saying. And then I'd get the option to either say like what I want to say or what I said in the dream, or change it. And usually I changed it because it's like I remember how the dream happened, so I want to see something new, a new perspective to it.
New perspective.
So yeah.
And would you say in your life right now, you kind of carry over those principles?
Yeah, so like I started this company called Resonance Animality. So have you ever been thinking about someone and then they're calling you? Like have you ever been
projecting it out into the universe?
Right, and it get answered. So Resonance Animality, it's you're resonating it out, and it resonates to someone else and they feel it, and you have a moment of resonance through like an instinctual feeling. So like you just
Very
get this
intuitive.
Yeah, it's an intuitive instinct, like let me just try it this way, and then all of a sudden it resonates out, and then you have a moment of resonance where it's like an aha moment of the world resonating with your thoughts, and like it clicks and you're like, wow, like I almost like manifesting reality. So what it really started with me is I would be at my house, and I was vacuuming Toggenburg Mountain with my dad. That was my job, and it was from 11 o'clock at night to like 3 in the morning. So I had a very like relaxed life. He lived in the middle of Erieville, which is like 15 minutes from Kaz, in the middle of nowhere, and it's like a little lake town, and it's like quiet. There's no one does anything, like no one's ever like outside. I don't really ever see anyone. So I lived a very like I just got to live in this like house, and I didn't have much interaction with people. Everyone of my friends went to college their first year. I took 2 years off, and I'd be sitting there, and I would just, my phone would be like on the other side of the room, and I'd be like, wow, my friend Tom is gonna text me right now. I feel like he's trying to like say, like I'd start thinking of like, oh, yesterday I shouldn't have left without giving him this thing back. Like, I should probably call him. And I'd be going to get my phone. As I'm going to get it, he'd be calling, and I'd be like, whoa, like that's weird. And I would just brush it off. And it happened so much over the course of 2 years that I was like, I couldn't shake it off, because it started with like once a day in the beginning, and then it ended up happening like 100 times a day. I'd be like thinking about someone, and then I'd look over and they'd be like driving by. Or I would like think of something, what I'm going to say to someone, or what I think they're going to say to me, and I'd show up and they'd say that thing to me, and I'd be like, I knew you were going to say that, and I'd be like, I'm sorry, or like, yeah, can I help you do this thing? And it kept going and going and going. It happened like 100 times a day, where it was so weird that I couldn't let it go. So I started like focusing on it and like telling other people about it, and my friends started to see it happening to them. They'd be like, whoa, like resonance animality, they'd be like, it happened. And they'd call me and be like, dude, like I thought you were kidding, but like it's real, like it just happened. And yeah, it happened all the time.
It's like law of attraction.
Right, yeah. It's so what I
did resonance animality.
Yeah. So what I did is when I started to research it, I'd be like, oh well, there's law of attraction like this, or there's manifest destiny, or there's manifesting reality, and I took a break and like researched as hard as I could every like not yeah well no like I researched all like these like I researched every religion, not like super in depth, but like got the main points of all of them, and then started looking up huge science topics like law of attraction, stuff like that, and started seeing how that all kind of fits into this. I was trying to think of the best words because I didn't know how to name it yet. I didn't know what to call it. So I was like, I can't do this phenomenon wrong. I need to find the best choice of words to explain this thing that's happening to me that I tested to see if it happens to other people, and they said it did. Like there would be moments where it happened. They'd be like, yeah, it happened. So that was proof that it's actually happening. So I had to test it to make sure it was working. And then I was like, okay, so I started researching all religions, and they all had like the center idea about it, about this like pure feeling and like trusting that pure instinct where it's not going to hurt anyone, hurt myself, or deceive someone, or get something that's better that can help me and better, like, you know, like take from someone else to make myself better. It has to just be like a pure intention. And I found that all the religions have that, and then there's like all this science that's kind of pointing towards it. So I wanted to name it something that every thing on this
Universal.
planet, everything on the planet could be in it. And I found that when you resonate something out and someone else resonates something out, like a feeling or like positivity or negativity, those two things can have a moment of resonance together. So when I would be like, I like to do this thing called like try to guess the number someone's thinking. I could used to be able to guess the color someone was feeling, like thinking, because it's like they're resonating out, they're instinctually resonating that out. The instinctual,
like an aura,
right?
Or something.
Yeah, because my brain has this like little itch inside it that just kind of goes, this is what it is. Like this is the right thing to do. Like it's almost like a moral compass deep down inside of it, and it only works when you use it that way. Because like if someone tries to use this whole like, well, if I resonate out hate towards someone, I'm gonna like murder them. Like it's okay because resonance animality said it's okay, and it's like that's still ethically and morally wrong. So it's, you know, like if someone, you know, it gets really murky the more it gets deeper into like people trying to use it for like why they do something bad to someone. It's supposed to be just this pure intuition of like, oh, I was thinking about you yesterday, and they're like, oh no way, like I was thinking about you also, and then you have like that like adds it together, like, or like animals can have it, you know, like sometimes animals just know what you're thinking or like saying or doing.
Dogs come over because you're feeling sad.
Right. Yeah. Like the emotional support pets that like train for that. We can't talk to them. We can't actually say, hey, what's up? And they say, what's up? Mm-hmm. So it's like a resonating instinct between both of us. Like it's within birds and how they all fly together when it's time to go south, or because that's their instinct, right? But it's a resonance from the planet. So our planet has like a resonating frequency of 3.82 hertz. Yeah. And Schumann resonance is one of the big reasons of it. So our Earth is putting off a pulse, and then we can like react with it, and then each person in themselves is putting off like a resonance pulse, like a magnetic pulse,
a frequency.
Yeah, the frequency. So which resonance is all frequencies and waves. So when someone else puts out a frequency like this, and I'm doing the same one, and we have a moment of resonance, I like to label that aha moment between reality and our thoughts as resonance animality. It's linking the physical world with the metaphysical part of our brain.
And what's the animality part?
Instinct. So animality is animal nature, animal instinct. So that's why animals can also do it. It's not just humans that can do it, because I'm not trying to separate anything and say that humans are better than any other animal, any other species.
Okay.
So it's that they can also do that. So like with birds and how they all just decide to fly together and leave, that's like an instinctual resonance that they have. I could have just called it instinctual resonance. It sounds a little bit nicer. And so there's that. And then with bees all have like this magnetic resonance to them, and that's how they can like collectively build. Like there's a lot more to it, but so yeah, there's that part with it. And
so I mean, it sounds like all of this culmination of ideas is giving you a good sense of purpose in your life.
Yeah, definitely.
As to why you're doing what you're doing every day.
Yeah.
Can you find connections? What are your connections between like why you're doing this and like what are you doing in your life right now?
So with my life, I had a really, really low part of my life, like 2.5 years ago, and I got severely injured cliff jumping in Ithaca. I fell off a cliff basically, and I got pulled off a cliff by someone, and I hit my face and got really hurt. So then after that, I just like didn't have a lot of purpose in anything, and didn't really want to do anything. And all I would do is just drink all the time to like not feel the pain, and to like not have to think about like a lot, and just like I don't know. I didn't have much going for me. My dad had just gotten out of jail.
Just kind of cruise through life.
Yeah, like an autopilot, and just be like drunk the whole time. And throughout all that, like I decided like I don't know, like I wasn't living up to this resonance animality thing. Like I wasn't trying to do the.
And that was all before.
I've had it for 6 years. Yeah. Okay. So I found resonance animality, and then I was trying to get all my friends to like listen to me, and they were like they didn't care. They were all about like benefiting themselves and like trying to be funny, and like getting more stuff. Like I don't know, they just didn't really want to understand it. So I kind of like rejected them and like rejected the idea because no one else wanted to believe in it. But there were people that did believe in me, and I didn't see it. And then on top of me getting hurt, I just like totally gave up on it and just started drinking all the time, and got so far that I got a DWI. And yeah, I was like at a really, really low part in my life. And how I see resonance animality in my life is that when I start thinking better and start trying to stay away from things that make me not focus on betterment, and like started dating Erica. I met her at a bar, coincidentally, and I don't know. Since then, like we've been doing great. Like we bought a house together. I was like homeless for a little bit.
Oh wow.
I moved back in with my mom, and that was just horrible.
How old were you?
So when I was.
No, I don't want to box you in. Just how old were you during that period?
I was just freshly turned 21, and I'm 23, about to be 24 soon in like a month. So yeah, I was just didn't really have a purpose and didn't want anything. And the more I think about resonance animality, the more I'm like trying to work it into something that other people can use in their life, not to benefit them, but to see the signs that like are out there. And like I now own a house with my girlfriend, and we're remodeling it. I have a job and a career that I really like. It's gone a lot farther away, like from what I thought. So I lived with my grandparents for like 2 years. When I was 12 years old, links back, my mom was a really bad alcoholic because my parents just got divorced, and I look very similar to my dad. So my mom would come in hammered and tell me to get the fuck out, call me Bruce, my dad, and say like, you need to leave. And I didn't know what was going on. I didn't even know what alcohol was. So I left and just moved out. And I remember I'd sleep on playgrounds. I'd go to my friend's house and sleep on their couch if I could, and like slum it there as long as I could. And then my grandmother found out that I was just living on playgrounds, and I slept on top of Kinney drugs here in Kaz. She came and got me, made me like come to her house, and that was great. Like that was a big push and like a help. But I didn't want to be a burden to her. Like I wasn't her responsibility, so I felt bad that I was there. So I was always like getting in trouble or like not going to school and stuff, and like it was stressing her out. So I would just go leave and like find anywhere I could sleep. I'd like beg my friends to let me stay at their house. I built really strong bonds with Jordan Toma and Joey Vecchiarelli. They were my main friends there, and they would just let me sleep over whenever. So then I wasn't so much homeless anymore off of my choice of being homeless because I left. I had friends that would let me stay over, my grandmother, which pushed me to a way. And my dad was drinking really heavy, and he got a couple DWIs and ended up going to jail over it. So it was right near the end of my senior year. I remember thinking like, wow, he's going to be in jail when I graduate. Like I was really, really upset. And I was like, as soon as he gets out of jail, like I'm going to do all I can to help him out and like help like drive him to work and do everything I can to try to like rebuild this family that I like didn't want when I was a kid. And I remember when he actually got his sentence pushed back so he could be there for my graduation. He went to jail 2 days later. He went to jail for 3.5 months. And when he got out, all my friends went to college, and I just stayed. And I started working with him at Toggenburg. And in all of that, I started research. Like I had the full day to research. I only worked from 11 o'clock at night till 4 in the morning every single night, vacuuming a carpet. So I had the whole day to research and study and think into these concepts. And that resonance thing started happening to me. And then I had the time to like research all the religions and research huge science topics. And by the end of every religion, there was not really an answer. And by the end of every science thing I looked up, there was not really an answer to like life or like what this.
Not like a conclusion.
Right. And that's what I'm still looking for, like a conclusion on like the whole answer to like why humans are here and all this stuff, like, you know, like the purpose of life. And through it all, I found that there's this moment that doesn't cost a single thing to anyone, and it's through this resonating wavelengths that we all have and share. And when we share the resonance together, like a resonating thing together of just instinctual stuff, like an aha moment, like where you say the same thing as a friend and you're like, oh, or like the more you hang out with someone, the more you link up and you guys like start saying the same things, like dressing the same way. That stuff is like, wow, that's something that shows purpose in life for me, because
there's meaning behind it.
Yeah, and no one has to pay for it. Like, I grew up very poor, and like I could be as poor as I wanted, and I could still have that, and that's worth more than any money could ever be. So like that all got there, and then my dad's been sober ever since. Then all my friends like rejected it. They would just be like, dude, we don't want to hear all this pseudoscience stuff. We don't want to hear this philosophy stuff. Like, we just want to like party and like skateboard and get drunk and, you know, like do whatever we want and like be mean to people and just think we're so funny. And they like rejected
the ideas.
Trying to like say like, no, it's something that could benefit your life. Like, just try it. They would have moments where they'd be like, they'd have a resonance animality moment, and they'd be like, they'd look at each other and I would be sitting in the room, they'd be like, resonance animality, they'd be like, damn it. And they'd like look at me and like shake their head, because they know that what I was saying actually happened to them, you know, like. But
they're still rejecting it.
Yeah, and it really, I'd invested so much and like was just so into it that it hurt, and I was like, damn. Yeah, like, definitely. Are these even my friends?
And something so theoretical, it's very like, to other people could be wishy-washy, and you can't prove it.
Yeah,
it's just a personal belief.
Yeah, because I'm not accredited scientist or anything, so it's like they're just like, yeah, shut up, dude. And
it's tough.
Yeah, so then I got hurt, and then I was just like, I'm gonna just drink a lot, and now I've come a long way from that, and now I feel like I'm finally like on a good path and like back in a good state. Yeah, it feels like comfortable now, and I can like start working on those things, like help my grandfather, work on my sticker company.
What's your sticker?
It's called Custom Vinyl Cuts, but I don't know if I'm gonna keep that name, so don't quote me on that. I'm thinking of calling it Slappy's Sticker Shop or something. Yeah. So yeah,
that's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. I like printing stickers. It's very tedious, and it like keeps me busy. And yeah, so through it all, I have this like philosophy of resonating out, and when the moment of someone else resonating out shares a resonance moment together with me, it's through our instinctually doing it, not like planned. I don't know, it's something that just like makes me smile, or it makes me be like, okay, like there's still something bigger than me, and there's something bigger than all of us that's still trying to like seep through to us.
There's value in it.
Yeah.
It sounds like you've went through a lot of hardship in your life. What do you think was that one, not that one thing, but how did you get out of that like pit?
So I didn't ever realize I didn't realize I was drowning. Like, I didn't realize it was bad. I never did. Through it all, I didn't really see myself in a hole. I don't know. I just was like, this is why my life. Take the blows and keep going. And then everything got more comfortable and slowed down, and I was like, whoa, that stuff was not normal.
Okay, so when you were in it, it's hard to kind of like separate yourself.
Yeah.
Like a meta sense.
Yeah.
To see what you were.
I was definitely just like displaced. I couldn't see my own. I mean, I guess I probably did, but I just ignored it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably just ignorant to it. I don't know. No one wants to think about like the bad stuff in my life. I like to now and like think about how to make it better and make stuff better for other people. Yeah, but like definitely. When I was in it all, I just like tried to pretend, because like, I don't know. Just didn't want to make it real. Yeah, my ego was like taking over. I didn't like, if I thought about it and said it, then it made it real. And if I could just pretend it wasn't there, then I'm just like everybody else and got to like keep on keeping on.
Yeah, it's like recovering from alcoholism. Yeah. Like the first step to recovering is admitting that you have a problem.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I mean, it seemed like you were lucky in the sense of you didn't have to like come out and admit it, but like you still found this path through resonance animality.
Right. Yeah, just I have this weird drive to just like ask questions and like try to figure out really crazy answers to like really hard questions. I don't know.
So the problem is what drives you?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm one of those millennials that's like, let's save the world, and like this is how I personally feel that I was destined to do it, is to share this resonance animality thing with the world.
How do you plan on doing such a feat?
So like what I do is like Resonance Animality is a non-for-profit. I make clothing, and my point of the clothing is that people see the shirt and they're like, wow, it's a cool shirt, like what's that? And they're like, oh, it's Resonance Animality, let me tell you about it. And they can tell you about it, and someone's like, oh, that's so cool, like I want a shirt because of that thing, because of Resonance Animality. I used to make little videos of it to show like just like how frequencies work in the world, like in nature and with people and stuff. And one of my first films I'm going to make is explaining resonance animality and like internal thoughts people have and how it links. So that's how it's going to first get out there. And then after that, it's just all about like maintaining it and not letting it get like the idea get corrupted by the public eye and like how people want to make money off of it or like manipulate or corrupt it into something else.
Try
like
to keep it pure.
Pure, yeah, until the end. And it's like, it's not, the goal for me on it isn't to make money off it. It's a non-for-profit. And any of the money that we make for stuff, I want to use to then research more science stuff about it, to then film that to prove and show people this phenomenon that's happening in the world.
It's cool. You're using the skill set that you already have, which is film, creating the vinyls in a way that's practical to communicate a message that you're trying to get across to people.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
It's beautiful.
Exciting. Thank you. Appreciate that.
And it's also the same thing that's giving you drive to keep going.
Yeah. And my beautiful girlfriend, Erica.
Mainly the girlfriend.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why, right? Is there anything else that you want to talk about? There's got to be.
Kyle's a man. Boho Hobo's awesome. Definitely check them out. Keep tuning into these podcasts. I'm sure everyone has great stories to talk about in here. And look forward for some podcast videos to come soon, maybe. Don't quote me on that either.
There you have it. What's your name?
My name is Maximilian Kenin Schaffner.
Oh, shit. Didn't even realize. There you have it. Yeah. It seems like you have, like, run this through your head a lot. So it's gotten to the point where it's, like, you're able to communicate it in a very, like, straight to the point way.
Yeah, I've had to, like, whittle it down to make it make sense. Like, I used to like rant to my friends for like, they could tell you for like 3 hours and they'd be like, dude, like my ears are bleeding, can you stop? And I had to find out a way just to like get the point to them right away without having to like tell them the science behind it and how it all works, because not everyone is meant to be a scientist or a philosopher, you know. Some people are meant to do something a lot simpler or even more complex, but it's their own skill set, their own thing that makes them like amazing.
Tick.
Yeah, and it's like they can't always. That's what I went through. That's what I went through with my friends. It was like hard to have them see what I was saying, because I was like, it's so cool, but everyone has their own perspective that I have to explain it to each person's perspective.
So let's think of it here. This might take a little bit of work, but if you were to only have an elevator pitch right now and say like one sentence driving home, like what is resonance animality? Coming from me knowing nothing about anything.
I'll tell you.
Oh, he's got it written down.
I've got it written down. I had to write it down. Okay, my Instagram for Resonance Animality is @ResonanceAnimality. My photo page is @Maximilian Kenin. And my regular Instagram is like ___00 or OO period ___ OO ____. It's supposed to look like a face. I don't know.
Oh, okay, yeah, I remember that one.
Okay, so here's, if it was an elevator pitch for Resonance Animality, this is what it'd be moments of coincidence and non-barbaric animal nature, one consciousness manifesting reality, shifting us towards our higher power. So that's a couple sentences, but that would be my elevator thing. And it's, yeah.
That's very concise.
Right. It's been 5 years that I made this, and I change it. Sometimes I have a feeling.
Watch for signs.
Yeah, so when you see the sign of like, whoa, like you were just thinking that, and then whoa, this thing's happening what you just thought of, that's like a sign. It's like, whoa, here it is. And if you start to derive from like the pureness of just being alive and trying to, like, if you start trying to take stuff for yourself or like get one up on somebody, you'll get like a sign that's like showing you like, you shouldn't be doing that. Or like if you're treating yourself bad and you're thinking like, I'm not good, like signs will pop up and like show you like that's not true.
Like good bad karma.
Right. So we all resonate like this, like we're all resonating, and our life is a circle. We're born until we die, and no one knows what happens after that. So what I say is, with that circle, that's the pure line, like the pure feeling of just morally and ethically being a good, decent human being, and everyone's trying to be as close as they can to that line. So we're resonating around it, and sometimes you resonate very close to it, and then sometimes because of the world you resonate farther away, and it takes you more time to go out there and learn that lesson and come back, and then you can go right back into like staying
groove.
here. Yeah.
Damn. So like, okay, so when you hit you have the perfect circle, we'll say, and you're waving through it. When you go across part of the circle, that's like the epiphany moment.
Right. Yeah. As soon as you hit that line, it's like the aha moment, the sign. Yeah. Epiphany moment. Yeah.
And so like the more epiphany moments you have, the more you start
getting closer to it. Yeah. And then sometimes you can't control stuff, and you might just get sent back out. It doesn't mean you lost all those close epiphany moments. It's that sometimes you're just way out here on a longer resonance, and then you have to like resonate back, and then you can go right back into it, or even take farther ones. Like some people don't ever want to see self-enlightenment and figure out their own self. So they're like, I imagine they're like super far away from the line. They still have those moments, but then they instantly like block it away and go back out. Right. I feel like a lot of people who are addicted to drugs and alcohol do that, or like a lot of people who just don't want to understand themselves because it's like easy to just disappear and go out here. And then you come back and then like skip that sign and go down.
What makes it so easy?
It's easier just to not think about it. I think it's easier to just like
drift.
Yeah, and like push it away and like yeah, it's like hard work, and like not a lot of people are hardworking, you know. Not a lot of people have like goals, ambition, and drive, and want to see themselves and like say sorry when they do something wrong, apologize for stuff.
Because it's not only just like, oh, it's all happy and dandy. Like
right, no, you gotta. So the up is when it's happy. When you're under that line, like you can't always be. Like I imagine if someone's a complete circle, they're like completely enlightened into the fourth dimension or something. They're just like,
they know their purpose, or they know their path.
I don't know. I would say it's a God level almost, because they're like because they know exactly what they're gonna do, and they know what someone's gonna do the next day, and they can like predict the future and shit. But when there's people who are super close to it, it's someone that can just like, because you can't always be high on happy, you know, like high on happiness. Like you have to feel like. I'm saying people have to be sad. Yeah, but everything has to be balanced. Like that's the whole point of it, is being balanced and seeing the signs of like trying to be balanced, and then seeing the sign that's like you're on the right path. I have a huge tattoo of two koi fish swimming in a circle. It's yin and yang, and it's about balance.
Show it to everyone. Oh wait, keep turning. There we go. Nice.
It's about balance. My dad always like drove that home, even though when he was all in his like benders being hammered all the time. He's always like, you just gotta be balanced, and you know. And I'm just like, oh yeah, sure we do. And he's like, don't look at me though, like, but you gotta be. Yeah.
So he knew. He knew the lessons.
Yeah.
But he just didn't want to practice them.
No, it's like do as I say, not as I do. And now it's like do as I say and do as I do, because he's like 6 years sober and going to do all this stuff, and it's like he acts like he's doing the right thing, you know. Yeah.
Big thank you to everyone who completed this conversational journey. The mind of Max is ever expanding with knowledge and wisdom in efforts to understand the connection of worldly ideas. We hope you had many mind-blowing moments throughout this podcast. If you're interested in more perspective-changing conversations, then check out our other episodes on Bindlism. The goal is to highlight each and everyone's individuality on their take of a philosophy to a self-sufficient lifestyle. We sure hope you guys have been enjoying our documenting process. Also, feel free to check out more Boho Hobo things on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We also have a website at bohohobolifestyle.com. Hope to see you all again on another episode of Bindlism. Peace, love, and good vibes to all. Namaste.